It was supposed to be an ordinary afternoon. The kind that slips by without leaving any trace. Euro, just another cup of coffee. Another quiet corner table. Another hour spent pretending to read while people drifted in and out. D chosen the seat near the window because it caught the late sunlight, warm and soft, the kind that made everything feel a little slower, a little kinder. I was halfway through the same page for the third time when she walked in. She didn't rush like the others. No phone pressed to her ear, no anxious glance at the clock. She moved with a calm, steady rhythm, like she had nowhere urgent to be and no one to impress. There was something graceful about the way she carried herself. Quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't ask for attention but naturally earns it. She ordered at the counter, her voice low and warm, and even from across the room I noticed the small smile she gave the barista. Not the polite kind people use out of habit. This one lingered like she meant it. A few minutes later, she glanced around the cafe copyright, searching for a seat. Most of the tables were taken, except the one beside mine. For a second I thought she might choose it. Then she did. A mind if I sit here? She asked, her tone gentle, almost musical. I shook my head quickly. Not at all. She set her cup down and eased into the chair, close enough that I could feel a faint warmth from her presence. The air carried a subtle floral scent. Nothing strong, just enough to notice when she leaned forward to stir her drink. A loose strand of her hair fell across her cheek, and she tucked it behind her ear with an absent-minded motion that felt oddly intimate to watch. For a while we sat in comfortable silence. The soft hum of conversation around us, the clinking of cups, the hiss of the espresso machine. It all blended into the background. But I was suddenly very aware of the space beside me, of her. She caught me glancing once and smiled. Not teasingly, not suspiciously. Just warm. Like we were already sharing some small, quiet understanding. Good book. She asked, nodding toward the one in my hands. I looked down at it, realizing I hadn't read a single line in the last 10 minutes. I think so. I said, half smiling. Is still deciding. She laughed softly. The sound was low and natural, the kind that made you want to hear it again. Honest, at least. We started talking after that. Nothing deep at first. Just small things. The weather. The cafe copyright. How crowded the city felt lately. But there was something easy about the conversation. Something unforced. She listened closely, her eyes steady on mine. Like every word mattered more than it probably should. And that was the moment I felt that quiet shift inside me. Not a rush, not some dramatic spark. Just a gentle awareness that this ordinary afternoon didn't feel so ordinary anymore. I told myself to stay cool. She was just a stranger sharing a table. But the way she smelled it made that feel like a lie. After that first afternoon, I started noticing her more often. Not because I was looking for her at least theta what I told myself but because she seemed to appear in the same places I did. The cafe copyright by the window. The quiet corner of the bookstore down the street. Once, even at the small weekend market where the air smelled like roasted nuts and fresh bread. The first few times, we only exchanged smiles. The kind you give someone you recognize but don't really know. But each smile felt a little warmer than the last, a little more familiar. Until one day, she walked straight over to my table like it was the most natural thing in the world. Mind if I join you again? She asked. I didn't even pretend to hesitate. Please. She sat down across from me, setting her cup carefully on the table. A soft breeze drifted in through the open door, stirring a few loose strands of her hair. She brushed them back with a quiet, absent motion, and I found myself watching the gesture more closely than I probably should have. She said, resting her elbows lightly on the table. Have you finished that book yet? I smiled. Ilmost. S taking longer than expected. Cause s good or because you keep getting distracted. There was a playful note in her voice, and I felt my cheeks warm. Maybe a bit of both. She laughed softly, that same low, easy sound. It made the space between us feel smaller, more personal. Like we wearing a Euro tea, just two strangers anymore. The conversation drifted naturally from there. She asked about my work, my plans, the places I wanted to travel someday. Not in a rushed or curious why a Euro, just calm, thoughtful questions that made me realize she was actually listening. And more than that, she remembered things. The next time we met, she brought up a city IEuroD mentioned wanting to visit, asking if IEuroD looked at flights yet. No one usually remembered those kinds of details about me. It was a small thing, but it stayed with me. At some point, she told a story about getting lost on a road trip years ago. As she described the tiny town IEuroD ended up in, her eyes lit up with the memory. She laughed, and without thinking, her hand came to rest lightly on my forearm. It was brief, casual, probably nothing to her. But the warmth of her touch lingered long after she pulled her hand back. I felt suddenly aware of everything a Euro, how close our chairs were, how her voice softened when she spoke, the faint scent of her perfume drifting across the table. It wasn't Euro tea overwhelming, just Euro noticeable. Comfortably noticeable. And that was the problem. Because it felt too easy. Too natural. Like we Euro D known each other longer than we actually had. As we sat there, shoulders almost aligned, I realized I wasn't Euro T just enjoying her company anymore. I was looking forward to it, waiting for it, measuring my afternoons by the chance that she might walk through the Kafka copyright door. And that thought made me uneasy, not because there was anything wrong with her, but because something about the way I felt around her Euro didn't Euro T feel simple anymore. It happened on a quiet weekday afternoon, the kind where the Kafka copyright felt almost too still. The usual crowd was gone, replaced by the low hum of the espresso machine and the faint clatter of cups behind the counter. Sunlight poured through the windows, stretching long golden shapes across the wooden floor. I was already seated when she walked in. She spotted me almost immediately. Her eyes softened, and that familiar smile Appiarita Euro, the one that always felt a little too warm, a little too personal. I raised a hand in greeting, trying to look casual, like I hadn't Euro T been checking the door every few minutes. She ordered her drink, then turned toward the tables. There were plenty of empty seats, a whole row near the window, two small tables tucked into the corner. Even the one across from me was free, but she didn't Euro T choose any of those. Instead, she walked around my table and gently pulled out the chair right beside me. Euro, a mind if I sit here today? Euro, she asked, already lowering herself into the seat. The question felt more like a courtesy than a real request. I nodded anyway. Euro, of course. Euro, the space between us disappeared. Our shoulders were only inches apart, close enough that I could feel the warmth of her presence. When she leaned forward to set her cup down, her arm brushed lightly against mine. It was brief, almost accidental a Euro, but it sent a quiet ripple through me. She noticed, I think. Not the reaction, but the moment. Her lips curved into a small, knowing smile. Euroethis feels nicer. A Euro, she said softly. Euroolus like an interview. Euro, I laughed under my breath. Euro, were our conversations that serious? Euro, a Euro, not serious. A Euro, she replied, turning slightly toward me. Euro, just Euro distant. This feels more real. A Euro, her knee shifted slightly, and for a second, it almost touched mine. Neither of us moved away. The air felt warmer than it should have, filled with the faint scent of her shampoo Euro, something light and clean, like fresh linen. She leaned in a little closer, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret. Euro, tell me something, a Euro, she said. Euro, what do you actually think about when you sit here all afternoon? A Euro, I swallowed, suddenly aware of how close her face was to mine. The sunlight caught the edge of her cheek, softening her features. Her eyes held mine, steady and curious, waiting for an answer. Euro, honestly. Euro, I said. Euro, not much. Just Euro life, I guess.
Euro táto euro symbol ochrannej známky z VAG, euro šítí se gently.
Euro may by Euro M, trying not to think too hard about things. A Euro, she studied my face for a moment, her expression softening. Euro, you strike me as someone who thinks a lot more than he admits. A Euro, her words landed quietly, but they felt accurate in a way that surprised me. Before I could respond, she reached up and brushed a small piece of lint off my sleeve. The gesture was casual, almost absent-minded euro, but the touch lingered just long enough to make my breath catch. I told myself to stay calm, to treat this like any other afternoon, any other conversation. But sitting that close to her, feeling the warmth of her shoulder beside mine, watching the gentle curve of her smilia euro, it was getting harder to pretend this was nothing. For the first time, the space between us didn't euro feel friendly. Felt charged. That afternoon felt different from the start. The kaffa copyright was quieter than usual. The kind of hush that made every sound feel softer euro, cups settling onto saucers, pages turning, the low murmur of a conversation at the far end of the room. Outside, the sky hung in a pale gray, threatening rain but never quite delivering it. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at our usual table near the window. Her posture was relaxed, but her expression was distant, like her thoughts were somewhere else entirely. When she saw me, she smiled, but it wasn't euro the same easy, glowing smile I euro grown used to. This one felt smaller, more careful. Euro ohi, a euro I said as I took the seat beside her. Euro ohi, a euro she replied softly. For a few minutes we talked about nothing important euro what I euro done that morning. A book she euro started reading, The Strange Weather. But her voice carried a quiet weight, and her eyes kept drifting back to her cup, as if she was gathering the courage to say something. Finally, she let out a slow breath. Euro-ekin, I tell you something a little euro personal. Euro, she asked. I turned toward her. Euro-e, of course. Euro, she hesitated, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup in small, absent circles. Euro-e to euro-s strange, a euro, she said. A euro you get to a certain point in life, and people start assuming you a euro v figured everything out. Like you a euro re supposed to be euro settled. Complete. A euro, she gave a soft, almost self-conscious laugh. Euro, but sometimes, I feel more invisible now than I ever did when I was younger. Euro, the honesty in her voice caught me off guard. There was no drama in her words, no attempt to make it sound bigger than it was. Just a quiet truth, offered carefully. Euro, I used to think life would feel different by now. A euro, she continued. Euro, like there euro be more certainty, more warmth. Euro, her eyes lifted briefly to meet mine.
Euroinstít. It euro symbol ochrannej známky z just euro kvieter.
Euro, for a moment, neither of us spoke. I could see the faint tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers had stilled against the cup. She wasn't euro asking for sympathy. She was just letting me see a part of her she usually kept hidden. Without thinking too much about it, I placed my hand gently over hers. Not tightly euro, just enough for her to feel it. She looked down at our hands, surprised at first. Then her expression softened. Her fingers turned slightly, resting more comfortably beneath mine. The warmth of her skin was steady, reassuring, like a quiet signal passing between us. Euro-essery, a euro, she murmured. Euro-I didn't euro mean to get heavy on you. Euro a euro you euro re not, a euro, I said. Euro a euro glad you told me. A euro, she held my gaze for a moment longer than usual, something unspoken moving between us. The noise of the kaffa copyright faded into the background. All I could really notice was the warmth of her hand under mine, the soft rise and fall of her breathing, the gentle curve of her shoulders as she relaxed. After a while, she leaned slightly closer, her shoulder brushing mine. It wasn't euro dramatic or deliberate a euro, just a small shift, like she euro found a comfortable place to rest. And somehow, that quiet closeness said more than any words could. The evening air carried a cool softness, the kind that made the city feel quieter than usual. Streetlights flickered on one by one, casting warm pools of gold across the sidewalk. We had left the kaffa copyright a little earlier, neither of us quite ready to say goodbye, and ended up walking through the small park just a few blocks away. The path curved gently between rows of trees, their leaves rustling in the faint breeze. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked once, then fell silent. Felt like the whole place had slowed down just for us. We didn't euro talk much at first. Our steps fell into an easy rhythm side by side. Every now and then, our hands brushed lightly as we walked. Each time it happened, neither of us pulled away too quickly. It was subtle, almost accidental euro, but it carried a quiet electricity. Euroito, you ever feel like time moves differently in places like this? Euro, she asked softly.
Ich glänzte her.
Euro, how do you mean? Euro, she shrugged, her shoulders lifting gently. Euro, like the world outside keeps rushing. But here Euro, it just breathes. Slower.
Kinder.
Euro, I smiled. Euro, I think theta Euro s why people come here. Euro, she nodded, her eyes drifting toward the path ahead. Euro, maybe they come here when thea Euro re trying to figure something out. Euro, there was a hint of something deeper in her voice, but she didn't Euro t elaborate. Instead, she slowed her steps near a wooden bench under a tall tree. Euro, let Euro s sit for a minute, a Euro, she said. We settled down side by side. The bench was cool beneath us, and the scent of damp earth and leaves filled the air. A faint breeze stirred her hair, and she reached up to smooth it back, her fingers lingering near her neck. For a moment, we just sat there, watching the soft glow of the streetlights filtering through the branches. Our shoulders touched lightly, neither of us moving away. Then, almost without thinking, her hand slipped into mine. It wasn't Euro T sudden or dramatic, just a gentle motion, like she was testing the space between us. Her fingers were warm, slightly hesitant, but they curled around mine with a quiet certainty. I looked down at our hands, then back at her. She wasn't Euro T looking at me a Euro just ahead, her expression calm but thoughtful. Euroethis probably isn't Euro T a good idea. A Euro, she murmured, more to herself than to me. Euro, maybe not, a Euro, I admitted. But neither of us let go. The silence between us grew heavier, filled with things neither of us had said yet. I turned slightly toward her, and she did the same. Suddenly, we were closer than before, a Euro, faces only inches apart. Her eyes searched mine, soft and uncertain. The faint glow of the streetlight traced the curve of her cheek, the gentle line of her lips. I could feel her breath, warm and slow, mixing with mine. For a second, it felt like the world had stopped completely. All it would take was the smallest movement, just a little closer. But the hesitation hung there between us, a Euro, unspoken fears, quiet questions, the weight of everything that made this complicated. She exhaled softly, her fingers tightening around mine. And just like that, the moment lingered, a Euro, unfinished, but impossible to forget. We didn't Euro T leave the bench right away. The almost moment still hung in the air between us, quiet but undeniable. Our hands were still intertwined, resting gently on the space between us, as if neither of us trusted ourselves to let go just yet. The park had grown even quieter. The distant hum of traffic sounded softer now, like it belonged to another world. A cool breeze drifted through the trees, and she shivered slightly. Euro, you cold? Euro, I asked. Euro, a little, a Euro, she admitted. Without thinking, I shifted closer. Not enough to startle her, just enough that our shoulders pressed together more firmly. She didn't Euro T pull away. Instead, she leaned into the contact, her head resting lightly against my shoulder. For a while, we stayed like theta Euro, silent, close, breathing in the same slow rhythm. It felt peaceful but also fragile, like the moment could break if either of us said the wrong thing. Finally, she spoke. Euro should probably talk about this. A Euro, she said softly. I nodded, even though she couldn't Euro T see the movement. Euro, yay. We probably should. Euro, she lifted her head and turned toward me. The softness in her eyes was still there, but now it was mixed with something heavier, Euro, hesitation, maybe even fear. Euro, I don't Euro T want to pretend this is nothing. A Euro, she continued. Euro, because it isn't Euro T. I feel it too. A Euro, her fingers tightened slightly around mine. Euro, but there Euro s a lot to think about. Euro, a Euro, the age difference, a Euro, I said quietly. She gave a small, thoughtful nod. A Euro, that, and everything that comes with it. People talk. They judge. And sometimes Euro, the Euro, not entirely wrong to question things. Euro, her honesty didn't Euro T feel harsh. It felt careful, like she was choosing every word with respect for both of us. Euro I no ida Euro s complicated. A Euro I said. Euro but what I feel when I Euro m with you Euro ida Euro s not confusion. Ida Euro s not a phase. Ida Euro s just a Euro you. Euro she looked down at our hands, her thumb brushing slowly over my knuckles. The gesture was absent-minded, but full of warmth. Euro you Euro rekind a Euro she said. A Euro and you see me in a way most people don't a Euro T anymore. Theta Euro S rare. Euro she paused. Euro maybe theta Euro S what scares me the most.
Eurovhi.
Euro a Euro cause it would hurt if this turned into something we couldn't Euro T keep. Euro her voice softened on the last word. I could hear the vulnerability in it, the quiet fear she didn't Euro T usually show. I turned my hand slightly, lacing my fingers more securely with hers. Euro don't a Euro T have to decide everything tonight. A Euro I said. Euro don't a Euro T even have to call it anything yet. A Euro she looked up at me, her eyes searching mine. Euro then what do we do? Euro a Euro just a Euro keep being honest. See where this goes. One day at a time. A Euro she studied my face for a long moment, as if weighing my words carefully. Then her expression eased, the tension in her shoulders slowly fading. Euro day at a time. A Euro she repeated softly. She rested her head against my shoulder again, and this time it felt more certain, more natural. Our hands remained linked, warm and steady in the cool night air. For the first time since that almost kiss, the tension between us wasn't Euro T heavy anymore. Felt honest. We walked back through the park slowly, the city lights now casting a soft glow over the damp pavement. The air smelled faintly of rain, and every step seemed to stretch the space between what had been unspoken and what we were finally ready to admit. Our hands stayed intertwined, the contact natural now, comforting rather than electric. Euroito, you think this will work? Euro, she asked softly, breaking the silence. Her voice carried that familiar mix of curiosity and hesitation, the way she always sounded when weighing something delicate. Euro I don't a Euro Tino, a Euro I admitted. Euro I con a Euro T promised the future. But I do know I want a Euro this. I want you. Euro she stopped walking for a moment, turning toward me. Her eyes searched mine, calm yet probing, as if she needed to read every truth I hadn't a Euro T said aloud. Euro I want it too. A Euro she whispered, almost to herself. Euro but the world a Euro it isn't Euro T always kind to choices like ours. Euro a Euro I know. A Euro I said, squeezing her hand gently. Euro and maybe it want a Euro T be easy. But we don't a Euro T have to decide everything today. We can start with just a Euro right now. A Euro a small smile lifted the corners of her lips, and she tilted her head slightly, brushing her hair back behind her ear. The movement was casual, but the warmth of her eyes made it feel intimate, a quiet invitation. We kept walking, side by side, shoulders occasionally brushing. The city seemed to fade around us. The sounds of cars, distant chatter, even the streetlights became background to the rhythm of our steps, the quiet hum of understanding growing between us. Eventually, we reached a small bridge overlooking the park pond. The water reflected the streetlights, shimmering softly like liquid gold. We leaned against the railing, close enough that our sides touched, letting the moment stretch without forcing it into words. Euro a Euro V thought about this a lot. A Euro she said, her voice barely above the gentle ripple of water. Euro about us. About what it means. About a Euro everything.
Euro aned.
A Euro I prompted, though I already felt the answer in the warmth of her hand resting in mine. She laughed softly, a sound that carried relief more than amusement. Euro and I think a Euro I just want to see where it goes. One step at a time. With honesty. With trust. With a Euro this. A Euro she gestured between us, her hand lingering briefly over mine. I nodded, feeling a wave of relief and quiet joy. Euro Eon step at a time. A Euro I echoed, pressing my fingers gently over hers. We stayed there for a while, leaning together, watching the reflections in the water, feeling the subtle rhythm of each other Euro's breathing. There was no rush, no pressure, no need to label anything. Just the comfort of closeness, the warmth of connection, and the quiet certainty that these euro, whatever it became a euro, was worth the risk. As we finally turned to leave, she brushed her cheek lightly against my shoulder. A gesture so small it might have gone unnoticed, but it spoke volumes. I felt it linger in my chest long after we walked away, a gentle promise of something new. I had tried to stay cool, tried to keep my distance, but it was impossible. Some smiles, some touches, some quiet evenings a euro, like this only euro wearing a euro tee, meant to be ignored. And as we walked side by side, hands still linked, I realized that sometimes the bravest choice isn't a euro tee about planning the future. It a euro s about choosing the moment over the fear and letting it lead the way. We didn't a euro tee have everything figured out, but we had each other, and for now that was enough.